Welcome to Lifeblood. Here we explore the deep and very human connection between Edvard Munch's life and his art. This exhibition will be on display from June 27th to September 21st, 2025 at the MUNCH Museum in Oslo, Norway. For Munch, painting wasn't simply his profession, it was survival. He once described his art as his lifeblood.
There's a storm in my head.
Here you will discover how illness, medicine, and mental struggle shaped not only his life, but also some of the most powerful images in modern art. Munch was born in 1863. When he was 5, his mother died of tuberculosis. A few years later, his beloved sister Sophie, just 15 years old, suffered the same fate. For Munch, tuberculosis was not only a disease, but hushed voices, the smell of medicines, and the hollow absence at home. These losses shaped his imagination, and they became the emotional foundation for many of his paintings. Munch himself was rarely free from illness. Hospitals became familiar places to him, and doctors played a vital role in keeping him alive. He had weak lungs and frequent fevers. He suffered from bronchitis. He had severe attacks of gouty fever and rheumatic fever, and later also problems with his eyesight. In 1930, a hemorrhage in his right eye caused strange shapes and shadows to drift across his vision. Instead of hiding it, he sketched it, turning this frightening illness into art. He once admitted with simple honesty, "Without the doctors, I would not have lived." Physical illness was only part of his burden. Munch also suffered from his mind. He battled anxiety, paranoia, and depression. Extensive alcohol consumption and outrageous behavior over time led to his eventual nervous breakdown with visual and auditory hallucination. In 1908, he broke down and admitted himself to Dr. Daniel Jacobsen's clinic in Copenhagen, where he underwent nerve therapy. A mixture of rest, long walks, baths, psychotherapy, and even electrical treatments. After several months, he recovered his strength. It was a turning point in his life. The inner battles never truly vanished, but they became part of the raw emotional power that runs through his art. Take a moment with a sick child, one of Munch's earliest masterpieces. it depicts his sister Sophie on her deathbed. The trembling brushstrokes and pale colors seem almost unfinished, but that was deliberate. They capture not only Sophie's fragility, but also the unbearable grief of a memory. Years later, in Death in the Sick Room, Munch did something even more striking. He shifts the focus away from the dying child. Instead, he paints the family, together in silence. The work is not only about death, but about the suffocating atmosphere of grief that lingers long after death itself. These works reveal how Munch made illness not simply a subject, but an emotional experience he could share with the world. Munch made illness not simply a subject, but an emotional experience. What made him unique was that he did not paint illness and loss as allegories or as distant ideas. He painted them as lived reality. He gave form to invisible anxieties, fears of madness, contagion, and of losing loved ones too soon.
There's a storm in my head.
And yet, Munch's art is never only about despair. His art pulses with vitality, love, desire, and the intensity of being alive. For him, joy and fear, health and illness, beauty and fragility, all of these were inseparable. Munch lived through one of the most dramatic periods of medical progress in history. When he was born in 1863, tuberculosis was a mystery. By the time he died in 1944, X-rays were in use, vaccines were common, and penicillin had just been discovered. These cures transformed our medicine. Medicine had entered the modern age, and Munch had lived its transformation. Munch once wrote, "Illness, madness, and death were the black angels that stood by my cradle. They haunted him all his life, but they also became the very forces that drove his art."
There's a storm in my head.
In spite of all the pain he endured, Edvard Munch lived from 1863 to 1944. For 80 long years, he carried the weight of illness, loss, and inner turmoil. And yet, he transformed this suffering, this cruel burden of life, into something extraordinary. The hauntingly beautiful art that still speaks to us today. This is the heart of Lifeblood. Munch turned private pain into images that still move us today. For him, art was never decoration, it was survival. His paintings still pulse with his life, reminding us that fragility and resilience, suffering and beauty are all part of being human. Thank you for joining us in Lifeblood.